Vanakkam, Namaste, and a very good day to everyone. I am Dilshad Maqsood from Sri Lanka. Today, I have the honor of serving as your host on behalf of the International Association for Quality Education and the Ministry of Education, Uva Province, Sri Lanka. The International Professional Development Program, Educators, is a joint educational endeavor by the International Association for Quality Education and the Ministry of Education, Uva Province, Sri Lanka. In collaboration with universities, organizations, schools, and educational leaders from the global community. First of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Rashmi Tyagi ma'am as the Sri Lankan Education Ambassador before we begin today's session. And also, it's my great pleasure to welcome our esteemed speaker for today's session, Dr. Sudhakar Umali. He is a professor in Department of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering at Thakur College and in Mumbai. Engineering and Technology, Mumbai, India. Dr. Umali brings with him a wealth of knowledge and experience in the field of engineering, education, and research. And we are truly privileged to have him with us today. He will be delivering a lecture series on fundamental of research studies. Today, he will be discussing on techniques for writing good research papers and theses. So, Dr. Umali sir, we are truly delighted to have you with us today. On behalf of the International Association and Ministry of Education of Uva Province, Sri Lanka, I warmly invite you and also welcome you to today's session. And stage is yours, sir. Namaste, sir.
Thank you very much. Shall I share my PPT?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Good evening, all of you, dear participants, educators, principals, and research scholars of Sri Lanka. Dr. Janak Kamal Gowda sir, Dr. Rashmi Tyagi madam. Welcome all to my lecture on techniques for writing a good PhD thesis. I have chosen this topic because writing a thesis is a significant part of PhD program. The original research is presented as a thesis at the end of their course. A thesis, therefore, is the written evidence of the efforts that are well written, scientifically accurate, and understandable. Thesis writing is challenging for researchers. The researchers must have in-depth knowledge of the research methodology. The researchers would be very clear about their topics, the objectives, and the methods. Hence, they must have an interest in that particular area. They would start from the basics of thesis, like a title page and an abstract. They should know the importance of plagiarism and grammar checking. Doing a literature review provides in-depth knowledge of a particular field. The research candidate will be awarded a doctorate or PhD upon completion of the thesis writing. To complete the thesis, research methodology is essential. Before the start of writing thesis, we require planning and strategy for writing a good work. Write your project reports like a scientist or professional writer, because writing is an important tool for the success anywhere. I have some questions for you. Also, that question may be in mind during studying or writing your work. Do you have the motivation and commitment? This question is very important. Do you have the motivation and commitment? Without motivation and commitment for writing or studying, reading, the thesis writing is not possible to you. Second thing is that Do you have reading and writing skills? Many PhD candidates or research scholars, they don't have reading and writing skills, and hence they are not able to write the PhD thesis in their own words. And hence, before start of your PhD work or research papers, we have to develop reading and writing skills. Third is that many a time submission date of research paper as well as submission of thesis must known, and hence you remember the question like this: what is the exact date of submission? And hence if you cross the date, you are not able to submit your work in proper time. Similarly, as a research scholar, you must understand the formats used by either universities, used by the research paper journals, conferences, and hence you must ask this question: what are the rules about the formats? If you are not writing in the particular format, even also thesis has a particular format, then that thesis or research paper may be rejected, and they will send your work written. And hence, before start of my lecture, you must understand what do you mean by thesis, and hence I have explained in the presentation thesis meaning. You must understand the meaning of thesis. A thesis is a communication between the researchers and the wider world. In the rest of the world, your work is watching, and hence we must have the communication and communication skills to write the thesis. It should provide with a clear understanding of the work carried out and appreciation of its significance. To achieve this, the thesis must be well structured and carefully designed. A thesis is the written evidence of the researcher's efforts throughout the duration of their program. In addition to writing the thesis, several associated activities should also be considered, such as presenting the work at conferences and publishing scientific papers. And hence, before start of writing your research papers or thesis, always remember the three questions that I want to mention you. That questions are: what are the theme, purpose, and main objective of the research? I am repeating it. What are the theme, purpose, and main objective of the research? Without theme, purpose, or main objective, your work cannot be understood, and there is a lot of difficulty in writing. Second question is that what is the hypothesis in case of scientific research? Hypothesis is the research questions. You have to prepare the hypothesis or research questions to complete the scientific research, and hence you must always remember this question: what is the hypothesis in the case of scientific research? Third question is very important: what potential outcomes or applications might the research have? After research work, we should get potential outcomes or different applications of your research, so that you can able to write in systematic manner. And hence, I want to introduce what is exactly introduction in the PhD research. In some cases, post graduations also requires a book or research papers. That book is called as dissertation. In case of PhD students, that book is called as thesis. A PhD students often ask, what does a dissertation or thesis look like? This question is very important because it is an attractive and systematic written work. Everybody is expecting like that. And hence, there are variations in thesis writing across universities, different departments, thesis committees, and faculty members. Because thesis writing depends on the thought process in the mind of research works. Research scholars are using his thoughts, and that thoughts can be generated in the form of writing, and that writing format is different in different universities, departments, thesis committees, and faculty members. However, PhD students recognize the need for a clear skeletal structure to organize their ideas, data, and conclusions effectively. I will explain all these things in further presentations, how to organize data, ideas, conclusions very effectively. And hence we have to understand what is exactly research means. For research, inspiration and motivations are the two fundamental ingredients for research. Without inspiration, without motivation, we cannot complete the research. And these are called as primary or fundamental ingredients for research. Without sufficient inspiration and motivation, it is very difficult to carry out research. And we understand now. We will just discuss now what is exactly meaning of research. Research is a combination of inspiration. What is here inspiration? It is the hypothesis generation. Because of inspiration, some hypothesis would be generated, and rational thinking. What is rational thinking here? Design and execution of crucial experiments along with analysis of results in the context of existing theory. And hence, I want to suggest research is a combination of inspiration and rational thinking to complete the work. And hence, when you follow it, definitely we can complete the research in short period. Selecting a suitable topic is the first major step in writing a research report. Without any topic, we are not able to start our work. And hence, I want to explain in detail different requirements of research paper writing and thesis writing. Successful thesis writing can be represented in several steps. These includes selecting a suitable research area, assessing the availability of facilities, infrastructure, and resources, obtaining support and research grants, preparing clear objectives, conducting research as per the study design, collecting and storing data, analyzing results, arranging and sequencing material, writing the thesis, editing the content, refining the language to avoid ambiguity in data presentation, checking for plagiarism, ensuring copyright compliance, and including acknowledgements, disclosures, and statements of conflicts of interest. I have covered what is the basic requirement during writing. Now I will explain all these things one by one to you. Now I want to explain some techniques for you, because techniques gives the support, and hence I will provide an extensive discussion of the contents of technical report and suggest a recommended format. A thesis should be concise, accurate, and complete as possible. Writing a technical report begins with careful planning of the work on which the information is based. And hence, after understanding all these things, I will go through the techniques for writing. Writing a good PhD thesis requires a combination of clarity, depth, originality, and structure. A thesis is not merely a collection of research findings. It is a comprehensive argument that demonstrates mastery of the subject and significant contribution to knowledge. Now, I want to explain some of the key techniques. There are so many techniques. It is not possible to cover in small lectures like this. Now, I want to explain some of the key techniques here. First is that starting with a clear research question or problem. And these techniques I will explain one by one during presentation. First is that starting with a clear research question or problem, maintaining a logical flow throughout the thesis. Third is that providing a critical review rather than just a summary, ensuring consistency in writing style, striking a balance between theory and practice, present your original contribution clearly, make strong use of figures, tables, and diagrams, ensure clarity in methodology, discuss limitations honestly, apply rigorous referencing, revise and proofread thoroughly. So these are 11 techniques, and I will go through one by one when I present a particular topic. During writing, you must follow all 11 techniques, and I understood that you got it. Now already I have told that topic selection is the first step of writing, and you should begin topic selection by identifying 2 or 3 broad areas in which different types of research can be pursued. Because these broad areas comes from the research scholars or PhD candidate, that may be 2 or 3 areas, and you must select one area only to start your work. And from that work area, you are able to select the particular topic. Once you have chosen a broad study area, you should immerse yourself in the available published literature in that field. The first step in the thesis writing is to choose an appropriate research area. Let us say electric vehicle is one of the area. Renewable energy may be the second area. Social science may be another area. So these areas can be selected, and from that area, we have to find out appropriate research area for your PhD work, means for research work. The research topic should align with the thrust area of the discipline and address in existing knowledge gap. Why I am telling that research topic should align with thrust area of discipline? If you are from biology area or geography, you have to select your liking area. Then the topic may be completed very fast, and that topic area address an existing knowledge gap, because knowledge gap is required to fix the topic. Now we will discuss all these things one by one. Now it is essential to remember that report writing is an integral part of the thought process. Already I have told. Report writing is an integral part of the thought process. This thought process helps to define and organize ideas, leading to well-considered conclusions that support further planning of the work. Now, after selection of topic, we have so many ways to refine it. Now I am suggesting how to refine and correct topic from your research area. Now that is called as criteria for topic selections. The selection of an appropriate topic is based on following criteria. Interest. Here interest is your interest. Significance of study. Availability of data. Relevant knowledge and skills of the research scholars. Manageability of the work and manageability of the research scholars' minds. And availability of funding. Now I want to explain all these 6 criteria in detail. What is the meaning of interest here? The topic should align with both your professional and personal interest. If your personal interest is automobile, then you can select the area of topic from your automobile area. If you are from physics, then you can select your topic from physics subject. Now come to the significance. The topic should allow you to conduct independent research and make a meaningful contribution to the field. The significance means what? It involves so many things. Significance involves contributing to the development of new theory. What do you mean research? You are contributing to the development of new theory. That theory may not be available earlier. Now, second thing is that significance means testing an existing theory. Only theory is available, but there is no practical applications. That practical applications can be performed by practical application of existing theory. Third is that investigating new principles. Now, what is the principles? Let us say Newton's third law of motion. That is the one principle developed by the Newton. Similarly, you are able to investigate new principles in the research. That is the significance. Challenging existing assumptions. Developing a mathematical model or explaining a phenomena. Many a times, research scholars are using mathematical model to develop the research work. That is the significance. Addressing any other recent developments. If there is any recent developments available in the literature and candidate is carrying out that recent developments for his PhD work, that may be the topic for you. And hence, I have some questions because this topic is very vast. Significance of the study raises some important questions related to your work. What is my study important? Why is my study important? Because through the research work, you have to enhance your research work, enhance your importance in the academic field, and therefore you must ask this question: why is my study important in the academic or professional purpose? Second question is that, does my study develop new knowledge? If that knowledge is not available, then you are trying to develop that new knowledge by your practical work. And you ask this question: does my study develop new knowledge? Does it have practical applications? Because in reality, in real world, we require the practical applications issues. That practical applications can be used for daily work, and hence that question must be in the mind: does it have a practical applications? Now come to the fourth. I have not explained the. I have explained only significance here. Now I want to explain availability of data. The ability to collect the data needed for your study is a major consideration. In some cases, you may collect preliminary data first and then refine or select your research topic based on its feasibility. Fourth thing is that, what do you mean by relevant knowledge and skills? Your research topic should align with your existing knowledge and skills. This can save time during the research process and allows you to discuss your report contents knowledgeably. Your skills are particularly important for conducting scientific research techniques, as some studies require specialized expertise that you may already possess. Now, fifth is very important: manageability. You have to manage time, you have to manage your work, all these things. The manageability of your research topic is crucial for organizing your literature review and producing a clear problem statement that is well connected with relevant theories. It also helps in effectively managing the time required to complete your thesis or report. Experience in writing all chapters is valuable in this process. I am repeating again. Experience in writing all chapters is valuable in this process. Therefore, it is advisable to select a topic that allows you to complete both your research work and report writing within a year. Now, sixth is very important: availability of funding. Why funding is required? Funding is a must, and you have to develop that funding through grants, through the institute, from governments also. And hence, we have some financial constraints, and because of financial constraints, that constraints can greatly limit the scope of the research you plan undertake. And hence, I want to suggest something new according to this. Selection of important chapters. Now we come to the why we require the chapters. Chapters are the areas where you are putting your knowledge according to the chapter wise. Now, what is the chapter? Now I will discuss now. What are the important chapters we want? You select first, decide on the essential chapter of your thesis. How many chapters we require? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, like that. We have some limitation of selection of chapters. In many cases, chapters may be up to 5 or maximum up to 7. These typically include the introduction, literature review, methodology and experimental details, results and discussion, and conclusions. Before writing the introduction, it is important to have a clear understanding of your research. You must also determine the type of research investigations. In the previous lectures, I have explained 3 things: quantitative, qualitative, experimental, observational, or other approaches that is most suitable for addressing your research problem. Already I have explained. If you want to understand all these things, you refer the previous work: quantitative, qualitative, experimental, observational, or other approaches. These are the approaches to complete your research work. So we'll discuss one by one all these things. And hence, we have some outline of the thesis work. Outline means it is like when you start it, it should complete. Now, these are the outlines. We have to fix the outline first. How many chapters we are considered? Chapter 1 is introduction, chapter 2 is literature review, chapter 3 is methodology, chapter 4 is result and discussions, and 5th is the conclusions. How to write it is our skill. According to your knowledge and skill, each and every chapters can be written in well-structured manner. I will explain all these chapters one by one. Now, chapter 1 is the introduction. Chapter 1 is the introduction. It contains, these are the contents of the introduction chapter: background of the study, problem statement, research purpose, goals and research questions, scope of the study, research significance. All these contents must be added in the introduction chapter. How to add it, I will explain now. How to add 6 contents in the introduction. Now we will discuss about chapter 1. In PhD thesis, chapter 1, introduction, sets the foundation for your entire research. I will first explain the background of the study. What is exactly meaning of background of the study? Background of the study sets the stage by providing context, outlining the relevance of your topic. The background of the study is starting section of chapter 1. In PhD thesis, the background of the study is the storytelling part that introduces the reader to your research area, demonstrates its importance, prepares them to understand the problem you will address. So this is about, I talk on background of the study, and you must understand what is the purpose of the background of the study. is to set the stage for the research by following reader what we want exactly in the background area, the context of your research area. What do you mean by context? The context of your research area means what field it belongs to, its history and current trends. Always you have to add what belongs to in your topic, selected topic, the history of that background and current trends. Second thing is that the relevance and importance of the topic. It is very important that it should be added in the background of the study. What is meant by relevance and importance of the topic? Why it matters in theory and practice. Why it matters in theory and practice. Third is that the progress so far. When you select any research topic, you have to count what is the progress till date. Then after that, you start your work. It means that you have to check in the background what is missing. What is missing to till date? What is unresolved condition? What is the problematic stage today? And hence, it should be included in the background of the study. Now we'll come to the second part. It is very, very complicated. Problem statement. We have to understand what is the problem statement exactly. What is it? Problem statement is the heart of your research. The purpose of the problem statement is to show why the research is necessary. And hence, you clearly define what is missing, what is unclear, or what is problematic in the existing knowledge or practice. Problem statement identifies the gap in knowledge or the real world challenge your study will address. Research purpose explain. Now I come to the third part. Research purpose is very important. Why you are doing research? It explains it. Research purpose explains why you are conducting your study. It is a broad statement of intent, not too detailed, but it tells the reader the main aim of your work. And hence, the purpose of research purpose is to provide direction and overall intent of your study. Now come to the very important part, that is 4, goals and research questions. Here, goal means objectives. Are you clear? Goals means objectives. We have to understand goals and research question first. Goals and research question should be written separately. Goals or objectives are the specific outcomes you aim to achieve through research. You aim to achieve through your aim is achieved through your research. They should be clearly defined. Their objectives should be measurable and realistic, achievable. The research questions are the guiding questions your study will answer. You have to define the research questions and you are answering that research questions. That answering that comes in the chapter 1. Research questions are precise and often linked directly to your objectives. Now come to the scope of the study. Number 5 is the scope of the study. Scope of the study defines boundaries of your research, what is included and what is excluded. Because reading is very unlimited. you have to stop anywhere, and hence you have to define your scope of work. What should be added, what should not be added. You specify the context in the scope of the study, variables, population, time frame, or limitation within which your research will be conducted. The purpose of the scope of the study is to make the research manageable and realistic. Now, last is very important, research significance. It is also called as significance of the study. What is meant by research significance? It explains why your study matters. Why your study matters. You describe the contribution of your work in different areas like academic knowledge. Always academic knowledge is in the form of theory. Then practical applications. Second is the practical applications. That practical applications are related to industry, society, and technology. Third is policy implications. It is by the government. If relevant to your topic, you can choose policies. The purpose of research significance is to justify the value and impact of your work. Understood? So, then if you are adding all these things one by one in the introduction chapter, then you are able to write a good research thesis. Now come to the second chapter, that is literature review. This literature review contains 4 important area. First is that theoretical foundation, review of the existing studies, conceptual framework, research gap. So you must understand what is exactly a literature review topic, why we adding all these things. I want to explain now. In a PhD thesis, chapter 2, that is the literature review, is one of the most critical chapter because it shows your command of existing knowledge and how your work fits into it. After understanding all these things, I want to start theoretical foundation. Theoretical foundation is the theoretical base that underpins your study. It explains the models, theories, principles, or concepts that are relevant to your research problems. The purpose of the theoretical foundation is to show that your study is grounded in established academic theory and to provide the lens through which your research will be analyzed. Now come to second part of it, review of existing studies. Review of existing studies is the core of the literature review. You critically examine past and current research related to your topic. It should not just be a summary, it must be analytical and comparative. Don't write theory only, don't write summary. Your review studies must be analytical and comparative. The purpose of the review of existing studies is to demonstrate your awareness of what has been done and to identify trends, debates, and contradictions. Now come to the third, it is a very important conceptual framework. The conceptual framework is your research map or model. I am repeating it again. The conceptual framework is your research map or model developed from your review. It shows how different concepts, theories, and variables connect in your study. Usually, the conceptual framework is used to present the diagrams and explanations. The framework should be unique to your research, but built from the literature you reviewed. And hence, the purpose of the framework is to give clarity about what variables or factors you will focus on and to justify why you structure your research in a certain way. Now come to the research gap. That is very important. What is meant by research gap? Research gap is the missing link in current knowledge. I am repeating it. Research gap is the missing link in current knowledge that your study will address. After reviewing theories and existing studies, you point out what is under researched. This is the question you have to face. What is under researched? What is inconsistent in the existing studies? What is outdated? What practical or theoretical issues remain unsolved? And hence, the purpose of the research gap is to justify your research and to lead directly into your research objectives and questions. Understood? I have clearly explained that in the literature you have to add all these 4 important contents. Now we will come to the third chapter, methodology. What is mean by research methodology? No, methodology or experimental work. You have to add all these things, that is research methods. And hence we have to explain 7 contents in the methodology. I will explain one by one. Research approach. All 7 contents must be written. Now, as this is a very important, this methodology is your own work. And hence I want to explain the meaning of methodology. Here, the methodology is the backbone of a PhD thesis because it explains how you conducted your research in a way that others could replicate. Each component must be clear, justified, and logically aligned with your research goals. Now come to the very important part of methodology is research approach. This research approach explains the overall strategy guiding your research work. In this research approach, you have to do the planning and strategy, how to do the research, what are the different methods, and I want to explain what are your strategy and planning, and you have to write in actual your thesis. These are 3 approaches. First is that qualitative approach. I am repeating again, qualitative approach. In that, you have to explore experimental theories, meaning of each and every quantity or quality, patterns. In what way you are doing qualitative approach? It may be by conducting some interviews process, thematic analysis. Now you come to the second approach, that is called as quantitative approach. In the quantitative approach, you have to test something, measures variables. That variables can be measured through different surveys, through different experimentation, through statistical analysis. Third is that it is the combination of both quantitative and qualitative. It is called as mixed methods. And hence, we require the deeper insights of both in the mixed methods. Now, what is the purpose of this research approach is to justify why this approach best suits your research problem. Now come to the second part of it, design of the study. Design of the study refers to the blueprint of research work. What is blueprint? Means it is the Xerox. When you take one Xerox printout, it is the same, and hence design of the study, it is called as blueprint of your research work. In the design of studies, you have to write well structured planning, and hence common designs are experimental, quasi-experimental, correlationals, case studies, longitudinal, comparative, or descriptive. The purpose of design of study is to show how the study is systematically organized to answer the research questions. Now come to the third, sampling strategy. Sampling strategy explain who or what you will study, how you will select them. There are different samplings because we have to select some sampling structures. Now what is first sampling structure is that population, the larger group you are interested in. Second is samples. You are taking some samples for your experimentations. The specific group you are studying. Sampling methods. Sampling methods may be taken random, stratified, purposive, or snowball, etc. Sample size, you have to decide the sample size. And hence, the purpose is to ensure your sample is appropriate and representative for valid conclusions. Now come to the tools and instruments. We have to use some tools and instruments during methodology. And hence, tools and instruments are the devices, softwares, or instruments you are using to collect the data. Generally, tools and instrument contains different surveys, questionnaires, interviews, observation checklists. Secondly, if you are doing the experimental work, we require the lab equipments, sensors, simulation tools. Sometimes we require the different softwares. You have to name that softwares used during your research studies. The purpose is to show that you used reliable, valid tools studied to your research. Now, fifth is the data collection process. Data collection process is a step-by-step explanation of how you gathered your data. The first step is timeline. What do you mean by timeline? When and for how long you are collecting data. For 1 month, for 6 months, or 1 year. So that is a timeline. Procedures. What is the procedure of collecting data? That procedure may be surveys distributed, in interviews conducted, or experiments run by the candidate. Setting of the research laboratories. Sometimes if you have selected the topic, but there is no lab, no laboratories available, and hence what is your first duty? That settings of research laboratories used during your research studies. The purpose of data collection process is to make your process transparent and replicable. Ethics and compliance. Ethics and compliance in PhD research must follow ethical standards. You must know what is ethical standards in the research work. What do you mean by ethical standards? How do you follow the ethical standards? All the ethical standards consent of the participants, protection of the confidentiality, ethical clearance from institutional review boards. We have to take, if you are using some data from any institute, we have to inform that we are using that data from the institute and compliance with data protection regulations. And hence, the purpose of ethics and compliance is to demonstrate integrity, respect, adherence to academic and ethical norms. Now, seventh is very important, ensuring credibility. Ensuring credibility explains how you ensure the trustworthiness and reliability of your research. There are some trustworthiness in quantitative research, that may be reliability. Reliability requires inconsistent measurements and validity. What do you mean by validity? Accuracy of the measurement. And hence, consistent measurements and accuracy of the measurements would be used in quantitative research. That is the credibility. In qualitative research, what we require? Truthfulness, stability over time, transferability, confirmability, and hence the purpose of ensuring credibility is to build confidence in your findings. Now these chapters are very, very long. I will explain in the second lecture of it. Already I have told to sir that this can be completed within 3 periods, 3 lectures. Next time I will cover chapter 4, that is results and discussion, and we explain all these things, how to write a thesis, second and third sessions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable and very interesting session. And I think this will be very useful to our teachers for their future research in the next level. As we conclude our session, so I would like to express my gratitude on behalf of the association and also Ministry of Education, Province, Sri Lanka, to Dr. Umale and Rashmiti Agiman and all the participants. Thank you very much and good night. Namaste.
So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.